AI in healthcare is real and here to stay. The very first application of real-time, real-life AI was 1967. Amongst the earliest applications of AI were actually in healthcare. It was a system called MySyn. AI will do better than doctors. Nonsense. AI will do more consistent than doctors. AI will not have the mood swings of doctors. AI will not throw a scalpel at the nurse. No, it will never be better than the doctor.
To fix healthcare, it is not about the level of technology that we do. It's about how we weave a new Kashmir rug in a relationship between clinician, patient, and insurance company. Everybody talks about digital twin. Oh, and they cite the Apollo 13 for you. Hey, but man, when we built the digital twin for Apollo 13, we didn't build it for the human. We built it for the machine. So if we want to build a system, we have to build it for the disease, because the disease is dynamic. The humans are also dynamic, and we need to connect them.
Next up is again a very fascinating session because it again pertains directly to our bodies. It's a session on health and technology and the absolutely cutting edge frontiers of that. So to discuss that library of marvels, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome on stage Ajit Singh, partner at Artiman Ventures, focused on AI, health, technology, cutting edges. Hany Elosman, who's a big data scientist and working with Neom, a $500 billion experiment in the Saudi Arabian desert, where they're trying to rethink the societies of the future at every fundamental level. Fascinating conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ajit Singh, Hany Elosman, and my co-moderator, Aaryaman Vir Shah, who's also a tech investor and a partner and co-founder of Tigerfeathers. Please welcome them on stage.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Hello, Shoma.
Thank you, all of you, for coming. Ajit, I wanted to start with you. You know, we've been discussing this kind of dynamic between the excitements of technology and then the anxieties around technology. You are in this sector of AI and health, and we've been discussing AI in every aspect, even consciousness. What is the overhype around AI in the health sector? And then what is the actual miracles that are happening? Since you're so deep in this, could you tell us that? Let's start with what's the overhype around it?
So can I borrow a page from Jared Lanier's book and avoid your question altogether?
Okay.
I have to start with complimenting you because I won't get the opportunity later in the day. You have pulled off a coup. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And I'll, if you allow me to build on it, you pulled it off at two levels. First of all, you continuously restore my faith in India. Every time I come here, it goes up. This truly brings me pride in India and being Indian. I have to say, in the deepest sense. Second, just to benchmark this, I was involved in one such activity more than 15 years ago. 2008, there was a World Science Festival in New York. Brian Greene was on the program committee. My former mentor, Oliver Sacks, was a keynote speaker and the program committee. I was Tracy Day, you know her from your journalism era. And it took 2 years of planning. And I don't think we had this kind of attention span. And in the days of social media, we have this kind of attention span. You pulled off something remarkable. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so I'll now answer your question. AI in healthcare is real and here to stay. The very first application of real-time, real-life AI was 1967. Amongst the earliest applications of AI were actually in healthcare. It was a system called MySyn that allowed you to pick the right antibiotics and determine whether there'll be a reaction, you'll be causing resistance, and so on and so forth. AI itself has gone through what I consider 4 winters, if you will, 1974 to 1980, then 1988 to 90. My PhD just escaped the second winter. I was perfectly placed between the first and the second. And somehow the AI reality and hype has pretty much lagged that by 2 years. Anytime there was a winter in AI, there was a winter in AI in healthcare. Where are we today? The first drug generated exclusively by AI was approved by the FDA in 2020 as an orphan drug. And for what?
When you mean an AI drug, what is that?
So which means AI took a whole universe of possible molecules for an indication, PTSD, found a molecule that will work, got it an orphan indication from the FDA, and brought it to real patients. Entire process was done in approximately 6 years compared to a 17, 18-year period, from understanding the chemistry profile, the toxicity, the efficacy, getting phase 1 enrollment done, et cetera, all the way to getting a designation which can go actually to patients. So it's as real as that. It's being used in diagnostics, it's being used in billing, it's been used in fraud detection, all those applications are real. The question is, where is hype? The hype is whenever we try to overstate and say it's a panacea, I'll solve everything, it's obviously wrong. Example, we say AI will do better than doctors. Nonsense. AI will do more consistent than doctors. AI will not have the mood swings of doctors. AI will not throw a scalpel at the nurse. No, it will never be better than the doctor. Why? So mathematically you can prove it. AI is what? It's learning an average of the people it's learning from. At the end, it'll be at best the average of the data it learns from. Would you like to be treated by an average doctor? It's best learning the average of people it's learning from. However, would you like to be treated by someone who's much more consistent than a doctor? So if I take a complex pathology slide and give it to 2 pathologists, I get 3 opinions. If I give it to the same pathologist at 9 a.m. and 3 p.m., I still get 2 opinions. AI system will avoid doing that. It'll avoid the human-induced bias. We'll talk about maybe Alzheimer's at some point. It can take away a lot of the human-instituted bias. That's what AI will do. But it won't be better, if any sense.
Right. So before drawing Aaryaman and Hany into the conversation, just one other claim that one has consistently been hearing is that AI can, explore and discover new proteins, new materials, all kinds of things. So how does AI it's a very complex process. Can you share that with us? Is that part of the hype or is that real?
Yeah. So AI discovery of new proteins, let's put the problem in context. There are 20 amino acids. We've all done high school chemistry, कुछ याद हो, मैं तो फर्रा लेके पास हुआ था, तो मेरे को भी याद है, आपको भी याद होगा, most likely, right? So 20 amino acids, those are the monomers, and those 20 amino acids become proteins, which are polymers. So in principle, there are 20 to the power of 50,000 possible proteins. 20 to the power of 50,000, because the various configurations of these things can attach to each other. There is not enough data to learn from. So no, it cannot discover new proteins. Let's come to humans. There are about 3 million known proteins in human body. So you can say, 3 million should be easy to learn. No, in one cell, one human cell, there are 42 million proteins in some combinations. Some of those 3 million, there are 42 million. There are 30 trillion cells in the human body. There is not enough data in this world to discover a new protein. Forget it. Now, can I understand the specific folding properties of a protein which has already been discovered? 100% yes. So that's where the hype is. And I encourage us, we always go to first principles whenever needed. Go to first principles, you can calculate these things on your own. Okay, may I take a minute to just, if I might, teach a first principle problem? Encyclopedia Britannica. 1995, they had 650 million in sales. 2005, it was 0. Why? Anybody? Why did Encyclopedia Britannica die? Online. Internet, online, that's the answer, right? Let's demystify that. That would mean that when you were doing something with Britannica offline, and now you do it online. How many have had Britannica at home? How many of you actually opened it once in the last 1 year? How many of you opened it when there was no internet? Okay. How many times?
But
okay.
Getting to the point?
I am getting to the point. Internet did not kill Encyclopedia Britannica. People bought Britannica because it looked good on the shelf, and it mitigated their parental guilt. It'll be good for my children. So it was a perfect product, $1,500 product for a 2-income family to mitigate parental guilt. In 2000, there was another parental guilt mitigation device. What was that? $1,500, laptop, computer. Computer killed Britannica long before internet came. This is the power of first principles. You can do this calculation on your own. There's a lot of hype in AI. So sorry, I took a minute to illustrate a point.
No, not at all. Aryaman, I'd ask you to, bring Ajit into sort of questions that you want to ask. I just want to open up Hany before that. Hany, as I said, you're a big data scientist. We've been talking about the pleasures and perils of data. You're doing something completely new, which is that you're trying to map human at a cellular level, not just as we are in a static state, but you said you're using F1 data, NASA data, counterintelligence data to build a health platform that will sort of surveil us at a second-to-second basis at a cellular level. First, tell us why you're doing this, how you're doing this, why do all these different models matter, and then we'll come to the pleasures and perils of doing this.
Thank you. Well, I've always wanted to start by saying, "Ups up, kaise hai." I mean, I've been trying to practice this for the past 10 minutes, and I'm enjoying it. I love your question because what comes to my mind, do you guys remember the movie Amar, Akbar, and Anthony? Beautiful. So see, I've actually watched this movie when I was growing young, and this is literally the exact status of healthcare that we have. Between three different entities, which is the genetics area, the biotechnology area, the day-to-day healthcare practices that we have, clinical research, and academia. A lot of the studies which are 100% valid that Dr. Singh is talking about only exist on the 0.001 capacity control of incorporation, other region where we in the Middle East, Africa, and some other region of the world, we can only hear about it in Synapse if Shoma, decided to do so. So what we said when we were talking about Neom, what is the real problem? How can we take the real issue that we have in healthcare? Because healthcare is a complex, non-adaptive ecosystem. And it's not because anything, it's because of the regulation, the policies, the control of insurance companies. So we moved a lot into the sick care. And if you've seen all the AI innovation that exists right now, it's all about how to treat a disease. Nothing related to how we make people resilient and focus on proactive prevention. And so what we looked into the healthcare, this is what we found in the realm of cost, quality, and access. We added two additional vectors, which one is capabilities and resources. My physician, my clinician, my day-to-day physician and clinician who's going to take care of me, you, and everybody else, have absolutely not a lot of information about AI and algorithms and genetic data and information. Some of them do, some of them don't. The second thing is convenience. I've visited countries in Africa and in the Middle East where they don't know anything about patient app. They only know a doctor when I am sick. So why am I saying this? To fix healthcare, it is not about the level of technology that we do. It's about how we weave a new Kashmir rug in a relationship between clinician, patient, and insurance company. How to do so? We decided that agreeing on terms, what is the right terms of healthcare? Terms of cost, favorable outcomes, defining non-favorable outcome, work across all these ontologies. So we built a new system called Machine X. Machine X, what it does, it uses different algorithms to present data to day-to-day clinician and physician and patient, because the idea is not to fix just the problem, but also to uplift and build capability of those clinician and physician. So they're no longer just the service provider. No, they are back to becoming the doctors who know you, can understand the relationship between my gene, can understand the relationship with my environment, and can understand the relationship of what's the next course of treatment.
I'd just like to share an anecdote. When I was backstage, actually I ran into Mr. Elosman talking to Mark McCaughrean, who just gave us that incredible talk on the James Webb Space Telescope. And they were talking about each other's work and possibly collaborating. And I thought that was very fascinating because here you are leading healthcare and medicine for the Neom project, which is this massive, as you pointed out, multi-billion-dollar futuristic vision for Saudi Arabia. and you're talking to an astrophysicist and astronomers. So how do you take learnings from different fields and apply them to your work?
One correction, whatever we're building in Neom is not for Saudi Arabia. My mandate was to build a healthcare system that can shine the light to the whole world, and especially the region and Africa and all those who are needed. This is the whole concept of Neom. It is not just for Saudi Arabia or for the people who are living in Neom. Whatever we come up with in innovation or solid advancement is for the whole world. That's at least my mandate. Now, let me tell you beautiful things about the James Webb Telescope. I'm going to use a different example this time because it's lunchtime. When you walk to a grocery store, you have the flour, the butter, the sugar, and the condiments sitting in one side. But if you don't know how to bake them all into something tangible, delicious, it has no value. We have the data. We have the genetic data. We have the clinical data. We have the socioeconomic data, the behavioral data, and everything. But how can we connect all this in a system that actually learn, adaptive, and at the same time present the data in a tactical, operational, and strategic information? So within the Machine X, we have two drummers. One drum is called the DIX model, which is the digital intelligence, AKA from the Defense Intelligence Agency. It's the way the Defense Intelligence Agency, which is by large, if there is a spy here, I do apologize, by large is the only industry that understands human being movement because humans are dynamic. Everybody talks about digital twin. Oh, and they cite the Apollo 13 for you. Hey, but man, when we built the digital twin for Apollo 13, we didn't build it for the human. We built it for the machine. So if we want to build a system, we have to build it for the disease because the disease is dynamic. The humans are also dynamic, and we need to connect them. What best industries understand this? Counterintelligence, in detecting any inch of movement by just changing things from an agent to a physician, a threat into a condition. And then we have to use different algorithms, and this is what exactly NASA did. NASA didn't just pour in an infrared beam into the sky. No, they've changed their algorithms differently from what they've been using in the Hubble telescope or from the ground station. They've used radial velocity, they've used photometric transient beaming systems, and these are systems, if I collect them and shine them into my data, I will take it from 1D, 2D to 3D, and that 3D will help me as a clinician and as a patient to all agree on what is the right outcome for me so I can build a probability index for you.
So, I don't know if Eric Daimler is sitting in the audience, but I was, being an ambassador for you and your ideas while saying that some of it worries me. But he scoffed at it and he said, that's a lot of bullshit. A politer way of saying that. Because he said, try asking them how to make all these data sets speak to each other, and he said, it sounds very great conceptually, but it's not really, so if he had been sitting here, I don't know if he is, how would you have answered that?
I will tell him it is absolutely indeed a BS. Because that's what I want them to know. See, the beautiful things about trying and tribulation of things, it's to the eye of the beholder. When we had the Hubble telescope, nobody understood what we could do with the James Webb telescope. And everyone in the United States, including my uncles, they were like, oh, we're wasting another $40 billion so we could send the rocket moon to the sky. Innovation build innovation. We did a pilot phase actually for these systems. And we had companies from the UK which actually specialize in counterintelligence determination systems. They use their system for satellite. And we use some of their algorithms to diagnose one condition related to diabetes that when I send it to one of the major EHR in the world that costs billions of dollars, at 82% failure in detecting it. Complete failure. The system that we have managed to detect it from the first instant. How? We're using a combination of color and sound to differentiate between intrinsic risk factors and prognostic risk factors. And this time we're adding a new vector, which is time. And that's what helped us accomplish this information.
Aaryaman, you had a question for Ajit?
Yes, I would love to ask you a question that goes beyond just AI. which we've spoken a lot about, because there's so much other fascinating work happening in the field of biotech. For example, in the US recently, a company called CRISPR Therapeutics just received the first FDA approval to conduct, to provide its therapy to patients who suffer from a rare disease called beta thalassemia. These patients used to receive monthly blood transfusions, but after this gene therapy, in which their own cells were reprogrammed and put back into their bodies, they now no longer have to go receive these transfusions. They are effectively cured. In other fields, Sam Altman has put almost his entire net worth into Retro Biosciences, a life extension company. So beyond AI, there are so many other things, and you are at the epicenter of it all, having had a glittering career as an entrepreneur at Siemens and now as an investor. You are in Palo Alto, the very heart of innovation. So what are you excited about in this massive field?
So as far as the first topic you mentioned, CRISPR and others, there are other speakers who are far more qualified. Yesterday, Elizabeth Parrish spoke about that. So she's much more in that epicenter, she'd be more qualified. There's a future to those things. However, for the foreseeable future, those technologies will be very, very inaccessible. They run from anywhere between tens of thousands of dollars to hundreds of thousands of dollars to millions of dollars. They'll remain inaccessible for a time. It's not to say they should not be done. What is that Yogi Berra statement? You know, making predictions is hard, especially about the future. I mean, these things could drop in price, but not in foreseeable future. So my excitement is a lot more about making sure that the lowest common denominator, people who don't have access. The problem of access is not only for sub-Saharan Africa or Indian villages, at least 5 years ago. It's also true for Little Rock, Arkansas. It's true for a village in Iowa, where you don't have a primary care physician within a 50-mile radius, where you don't have access to the world-class oncologist, God forbid your family member should have cancer. AI and related technologies to be made accessible to those people in those communities. That's what I'm most excited about. And some of it is rocket science, some of it is not rocket science at all. It's innovation nevertheless. And if needed, we can double click on one or two such examples. That's what excites me the most. I'll say the second thing. What excites me even more probably is diagnostics. No. It makes up 3% of healthcare expense.
Sure.
It controls almost 70–80% of the expense downstream. And yet we don't give importance to diagnostics. Watch any television show, your Grey's Anatomy or ER or anything. What are the magical moments? The magical moment where there's a bunch of residents hovering around a senior doctor and everybody's confused and one intern raises their hand, I have an idea, and finally they have the brilliant insight that creates a diagnosis. And from then, everything flows smoothly. And yet we don't invest in it. So my firm, I'm not putting an infomercial for them, we focused exclusively on diagnostics starting 15 years ago, when it was not very glamorous. And lo and behold, 10 years later, there was a pandemic. And we were able to give the least expensive PCR test in the fastest possible time anywhere in the world. $2 a test, 4-hour turnaround, and we did a couple of tens of millions of them during the pandemic. That's the power of diagnostics, and to make them accessible, that's an even bigger power. That's what excites me the most, the simpler problem that affect a much larger community.
I'm really, really sorry, but I have to wrap this up, and we're just going to treat it as windows into positive technologies that are happening. I hope that a lot of people will actually probe this further, Hany, even your health platform. So both of you, thank you very, very much, and thank you, Aaryaman, for your interventions.